Hey guys, this is Tiffany again, and obviously still in vibing some Wednesday Addams here. We'll have the full get up later for all the Halloween fun. But this is Stranger Things 2, and this is Chapter 5. I'm Tiffany with the Nerdettes, and this one is titled Dig Dug. Basically, it opens up with Will telling Mike about the monster and what happened, and how some of the monster is in the Upside Down and some is in him. So he has kind of started to understand how much this monster is in him. I have the Demogorgon with me. So Mike tells Will that they could use it in a good way because, like I said last review, it's like Voldemort and Harry Potter. They have the occlumency where you can kind of see into its mind. And he's like, if you can see what he's thinking, what he's feeling, where he's moving and stuff, you can be like a super spy to spy on this monster. So, Will is like, oh, you're right. But obviously, Will and Mike also kind of share that thought of, what about it working in reverse? What if he can see what I'm seeing? And of course, they both agree, oh, we won't let that happen. Well, we'll see how that works out. But anyways, Hopper, of course, is still in the Upside Down. He's, looking around, this, blob blows stuff on him, and it just, in his face, and it blurs his vision, and it knocks him out completely. So, and the vines kind of coalesce, and they start to cover that hole that he had dug in the ground. So it's no longer open, it is now closed, and so not good. Nancy and Jonathan get a room at a hotel, which of course they're like the kind of awkward, they like each other but don't want to talk about it or don't want to admit it maybe, but they get a room with a double bed, and Nancy actually looks at them and she's like, I think it actually shows this in one of the trailers. She actually says, isn't it weird that we always seem to hang out when the world's about to end? And so that's become their thing, apparently. They have to hang out when the world's about to end like that. But yeah, they compared where they cut their hands and kind of had that bond before. They compared how the scars have kind of healed over time and where they're at, and Nancy seems to realize that something has happened where they're not as close as they were. So she asks what happened to them. And he talks about how basically Will needed him to be there as his brother, and how, obviously Steve was with her. So it kind of created just this divide in a way, because it's, he didn't know, I guess, how to bridge that gap again, and especially now that everything was, when everything was over at the time. So, she, kind of scoffs and rolls over, and he rolls over, and they go to bed. So, and it goes back to Will. He wakes up, and he tells, he's having this nightmare. And he tells his mom, Joyce, that he saw Hopper and that he's in trouble and he might very well die. Because he's obviously, with this kind of true sight that he has, he can see that he's in the Upside Down. So, of course she's frantic to try to figure out where he is. Hopper wakes up, realizes there's no escape like he had before, no opening left. He's very disoriented. He cuts his sleeve off and kind of uses it as a bandana, like a mask, to cover his face and his nose so he doesn't get that stuff, in him again to knock him out, like he would, defenseless. And he's basically trying to navigate this underground, tunnel and stuff. So it goes back to Lucas, and here we go. Finally, we get to kind of focus on him and his family and see what's going on with him behind closed doors. So basically he's asking his dad, after all of his trouble with Max and how she's mad at him, and how she doesn't seem to want to be friends with him or like have anything to do with him. He asks his dad, like, how do you make mom not mad? Like when she's angry or she's upset, how do you make her not mad? And his dad's like, well, I apologize and I get her whatever she wants, and we move on and it's good. And he's like, okay. And his mom is kind of like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, who wears the pants? Kind of a thing. So it's kind of funny, but obviously, Lucas is like, okay, let me, maybe I can fix this. And he goes off and, rides out from his house. So apparently he's going to try to do apologizing and the whole thing with Max. So, but anyway, so like Dustin decides to set up this like trail of baloney. He's trying to lure out Dart because now he realizes it's a Demogorgon and he needs to lure it away from the house. And so he sets up like things of baloney, and he like puts on his hockey get up, like the goalie get up, and he's like, setting up this trail to lead it to the cellar. And he's ready to try to put it down there so it doesn't harm his mom or him or his friends or anybody else. So plus he doesn't want anyone to know he even has this thing to begin with. So it goes back to 11, and she's in like this 18-wheeler truck. Was it Freightliner? Or yeah, I think so. Anyway, she's on this truck, and this truck driver drops her off at her mom's house. And she, goes in, she tries to knock on the door. The lady answers, she's like, I want to see Mama. And, she's trying to get in, but she like mind controls the lock open and opens the door with her mind, and the lady's just standing there stunned. I forget her name. Is it, oh God, Becky maybe? I don't remember. Oh gosh. Anyway, so I want to see Mama, and she goes in, and she's like, sees her mom, and she's like, it's me, Jane. And her mom is still muttering rainbow and 3 to the right, 4 to the left, and all that stuff, and obviously something's wrong with her, and she's like, she wants to know what's wrong with her, obviously. But anyway, Nancy and Jonathan go and find Murray. He obviously knows who they are, and they tell him the truth. They're like, he shows them his like board. It's like a beautiful mind almost. He's got like everything, like pictures, and they're all interconnected, like his kind of theory map board of everything plotted out, and a timeline and everything of what happened to Barb, of 11, of all the confirmed sightings and theories behind her, and his thoughts and everything. But they finally tell him what actually happened. So yeah. Anyways, Max, it shows her back at the arcade, and Dig Dug is closed, so she goes in the back, and Lucas tells her the truth. He tells her what happened to Will. He basically is trying to do this to bridge the gap, and he's like, well, how we said, he got lost in the woods? Well, there's obviously a lot more to that. So he proceeds to tell her everything, and I'm sure he's hoping that she'll finally realize what's going on and, become friends with him. So, anyways, Will, because now we have this big map, this big maze, he draws a drawing for Joyce and for them to show them where he saw Hopper and where he is and where he's in trouble. And basically, Bob comes over, and he's like trying to play games, like board games and stuff with them, and try to have like this family night. Joyce is trying to figure out what's going on with Hopper, and he's like, well, Bob the brain here, I just thought it'd be fun to have games. And she has this epiphany, maybe if we can't figure out where this place is, maybe Bob can. So she brings him in, And she's like, no questions, you can't ask any questions, you just have to help us figure this out. So it's like this elaborate kind of riddle that he has to solve and like X marks the spot, and he realizes like this is a map of Hawkins. So he's able to kind of deduce based on that knowledge where Hopper is located. And of course they, all frantically run to that location. Hopper is still down in the Upside Down and the Nether. He realizes that this creature and its vines or roots don't like fire. So he creates a hole, he makes fire and is like trying to, create a path for him to get back out again. Dustin buries his cap. And he's constantly trying to radio code red to anybody who's within radio range, and Lucas's sister answers and turns off the radio because she's annoyed by him. But he's frantically trying to get help from anybody he can. So Eleven's talking now with the other lady and she's like getting asked where she came from. She, doesn't really want to talk about that. She gets to see her room, like with a crib with the stuffed animals, the like knickknacks and toys and everything that her mom had set up for her. And it's a very emotional moment for her where, she's able to see what could have been and what really should have been. So it's definitely, one of those heartfelt moments. She gets offered to stay there. Like they're going to make a bed for her and she can stay with them while she kind of gets to know her mom. So, like all of a sudden the lights flicker and it's almost, and they go like in a path. And at first I thought it was Hopper and like the Upside Down, like it was in season 1 when the lights would flicker and kind of go along a path that mirrored what someone was doing in the Upside Down. But she realizes it's not the wiring or electrical trouble, it's her mom, and her mom's like changing the channel with her mind. So obviously she realizes that her mom, even though she's like babbling, something else is going on up here. So Joyce is like measuring out the map. When they finally figure out where Hopper is, they, are wanting to go see him. Let's see, let me think what happens next. Oh yeah, Dustin goes to Nancy's house because he's trying to find Mike or someone to help him, and he runs into Steve. And Steve has like this bouquet of roses. He's obviously ready to apologize to Nancy and try to make amends, and he's like rehearsing what he's gonna say. And Dustin kind of gets him to join him instead. Like he's like, they're not home, let's go, we got to do this together, like I need your help. And he gets them in the car and they drive off to obviously go see this Demogorgon. So anyway, gosh, let's see. It goes back to Hopper, and he's obviously trying to free himself. He, he's tiring. He is worn out. He's, been trying to create this hole. It's not working. This thing is too thick to penetrate through to cross back over into, his world. So these vines proceed to wrap themselves around him and restrain him in the Nether. And it reminded me like of Will and of especially of Barb, where it just kind of takes over. It doesn't like go in his mouth or anything, thankfully, but it just wraps him up and restrains him. So it goes back to Lucas and Max. He's obviously finished his story, and Max is sitting there just kind of nodding, and she's like, oh, your story was derivative in parts, and obviously doesn't believe him. She thinks it's this crazy cockamamie concocted story that is too absurd to ever be true or real. So she doesn't believe him. And of course Lucas is like frustrated because he's like, I've told you everything. This is real. like we could die here. And it shows them, like, she goes to Dig Dug, pulls the out of service or out of, not able to be played kind of sign off of it, and she's getting ready to play. Her brother arrives, so she has to leave, and yet again he seems very antagonistic towards Lucas for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but he's not wanting her to hang out with him, and he gets very angry at her yet again, and so you get that abusive vibe from him for sure. Nancy and Jonathan have this tape. They bring it to Murray, and he listens to it, and they're like, is this good? I mean, isn't this, incriminating enough for us to use here? So of course he's got to think about it. He's turning on Billie Holiday, or, going through his records, and he is drinking vodka, and like he's going into his think mode, and he's like, this works, but we just need to water down the story. So they think of a way to water it down by saying Barb was exposed to some sort of toxins that were leaked from the lab, so not telling the truth, but not exactly lying either, just by saying that they killed Barb so her parents can have some solace, or solace, if you will, whatever you prefer to say, and by watering it down. So anyways, the lab has gotten these samples of these pesticides that were on the crops, and they've put them in like different like test tubes and flasks and stuff like that, and they show the head doctor, they're like, look at this. So they've realized that if they put like a flame under it, like a Bunsen burner, it causes these toxins to swirl into like this cyclone effect, which of course is very reminiscent of this shadow monster and how it kind of ebbs and flows. So anyways, it goes back to 11. She uses a cloth to bind her, to go around her face like a blindfold. She goes to the other side, and she's like, Terry shows her memories in this other side. She shows her pregnancy. And finally we get an explanation of what these things mean. 3 to the right, 4 to the left was a combination lock. There's like a gun inside. She goes to the lab after her. She shows like her baby getting taken from her. She heard it cry. She knows it wasn't stillborn. She knows it's alive. So she's going to this lab, and she sees 11, or Jane, in this rainbow playroom with another girl. And she, of course, they get her. They drag her away because they don't want her to have contact with her, and they like put her into like this brain shock type, like electrotherapy type machine, and they turn it to level 450, which is why she says 450. And then the sunflower, it just shows like her memory, sunflower, rainbow, 450, 3 to the right, 4 to the left, and just now we kind of are able to piece it together of what has happened here, and why she continues to say the same thing on repeat for the most part, without deviation. But anyways, Joyce and Will and Bob, they are, with Will's help, they're able to locate Hopper's truck. And Joyce and Bob, they're digging down, and they both go to the nether, to the upside down. And they're obviously both on this mission to rescue Hopper. The lab guys show up to the scene. Joyce finds Hopper. They're able to free him, like cut off these vines and that have bound him. The lab guys actually get them out, and they burn the vines. And as they do so, Will seems to have this insane reaction. Like his body falls, and he begins like flailing and screaming like a banshee, and like seizing uncontrollably, and like it's again like he's possessed. I mean, it very much is like exorcist, like the poltergeist type thing, some sort of like a demon reaction, where it's like kind of like when you in those traditional exorcism movies, when they douse them with holy water, it's kind of like that same reaction. He's very obviously affected by this just as much as this creature and its vines are affected. So, but yeah, I mean, holy cow, that scared the heck out of me, like, because he's screeching and like this non-worldly, non-human just scream and just, ugh, whew, man, I think the hairs on the back of my head and neck were standing up. So, very scary. I mean, it's obviously gotten more and more just this thing, whatever it has done to Will, this is affecting him big time. And I'm very afraid that this is going to turn very bad for him very quickly. So I'm not really sure what else is going to happen, but I sincerely, and I hope I'm wrong when I say this, I see like some sort of foreshadowing that if they try to kill the creature, it's going to kill Will. So I sincerely hope they don't kill Will. That's just one thing I can think of. I mean, we know that there was more than one slug, so I hope there's not more than just Dart out there. I mean, there's a lot of different things I've got going on in my mind right now, but the permanent one is that this series, I didn't think it could get better than season 1. I was kind of skeptical, like nothing can top that. Oh, yes, it can. And this continues to do so. So, anyways, that was the review of Dig Dug. Again, I'm Tiffany with the Nerdettes. You are definitely welcome to subscribe. I really appreciate you guys watching, and I would love, to show you guys more. So definitely please subscribe. We're giving away Destiny 2 right now, so if you want to know how to win that, you can go to the video. It gives you all the instructions on how to win, and we'll have future giveaways as well. So if you want to win some Christmas presents, maybe for some loved ones, or even something for yourself, we're going to be doing a lot of giveaways leading up to Christmas, and even more afterwards, of course. But we're going to really ramp it up towards Christmas for you guys, and we do unboxings of Loot Crate and Loot Anime, Owl Crate, Scotchbox Japanese snacks. I've got Phantom of the Month coming. I've got Anime Bento as well. We're going to be doing comic reviews, live gaming streams, as well as more reviews like Stranger Things and Ruby, Walking Dead, The Orville, and I'm going to be reviewing Game of Thrones and Doctor Who when it comes back on. So definitely subscribe, and you can also like us on Facebook at facebook.com/thenerdettes, and just tell us what you think, and we really appreciate you guys. So thank you, and hope to see you guys again soon. Bye, guys.